Welcome to This Week in Cannabis Live. I am Jay Rosenthal. Oh, that is Anna Ray Grabstein. On her other side is Mark Hauser. That is Ben Larson. And over there is Jeremy Burke. I am Jay Rosenthal. I am wearing a San Francisco Barbary hat, which is a dispensary, which Anna Ray, what is special about this dispensary?
Well, you can consume there. It's technically called Barbary Coast if we're giving real shouts out.
Fair enough.
I think that was the first consumption lounge I ever went to.
Oh, nice.
See, now we're all sharing. This is how we like to start our Fridays. Now we're all sharing. Oh, it wasn't the first time you ever consumed.
Great experience.
It wasn't
Not
the
my
first time you ever
consuming. No, but it was my first lounge.
Perfect.
It was the first time. I'm like, I'm not a heavy consumer, and people were doing dabs, and they're like, "Oh, you want another one?" I'm like, "No, I think I'm done." And I'm like, "This is a weird business model."
But one that has stayed around, right? They've been around a while.
Yeah.
I've had this hat.
It's attached to a
Years,
dispensary.
so. What's that?
It's attached to a dispensary.
Yeah.
It's like you have the dispensary side, and then you walk into the lounge side. So it's kind of.
Well, this sounds like a place we should actually do this show from.
Ooh,
that would be really fun to do a consumption lounge recording.
Yeah, or when we do this in Las Vegas, which is going to happen the 3rd and the 5th at 8 a.m. Pacific, the 3rd and the 5th. These 5 people, the 5 here, will be together in Las Vegas for This Morning in Cannabis live from Las Vegas. So stay tuned for details about that, but you'll find it on all of our channels. We'll be streaming from Las Vegas. So that is also fun. And Mark, in that picture, you look, I don't know, shocked, confused.
Yes.
It's like a form of Mona Lisa. It's like, is he shocked, confused, excited?
Yeah, it's hypnotic. It's
it really draws you in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
well,
I'm also objecting to 8:30 a.m. in Vegas. I just want to say.
Well, you can object and you can roll in whenever you want. We're starting at 8:30. The East Coasters want to be at 8:30 because it's 11:30 our time, and we're ready to roll usually.
What Jay is trying to say is that he's 50 years old and he likes 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, we could do 6. You want to do 6? All right, let's get to what we're talking about this week. And hemp continued to be a part of the conversation. Anna Ray and Ben, you had on the editor of BevNet. You're going to tell me exactly who you had on for a really interesting conversation. I caught a bit of it. Jeremy caught a little bit more. Give us we call them Coles notes in Canada, but you call them Cliff's notes. Give us the Cliff's notes.
Go ahead, Anna Ray.
Okay, yeah. Martin Caballero, he's the managing editor at BevNet. They are kind of like the Cultivated of beverage, only they've been at it a lot longer. They've got 35 to 40 employees. They do a bunch of events. They are kind of the place to go if you want to learn about beverage. And they've been covering cannabinoid-infused beverages since the Farm Bill, which started with CBD, and Martin often includes THC beverages in his coverage. So we had him on to just give us his perspective on the state of affairs and what's happening with hemp beverage. I mean, I think people can go to any of the High Spirits channels and check it out, but he had a lot to say as it relates to kind of the complexity of the many different players within the beverage space. And we went pretty deep explaining about why groups like distributors and retailers are supporting the category and why we're seeing pushback and support for prohibition from brands. And I think it is a good place to really ground in as folks are getting more involved in policy change, to understand kind of where your allies are already and where the work needs to be done to get people on board if you are trying to open up the category through policy and legislation.
Interesting.
What did I miss, Ben?
No, I think that about covers it. It was a pretty cathartic week. I was in DC with the Ignite It conference, and that's pretty much everything we were talking about was policy, hemp, cannabis, and where everything needs to align or otherwise, and what this means for the greater movement. And there's just a lot of unknowns, but what's known is that there's greater forces out there that are not hemp or cannabis related yet, and they want to be. So things to come. It's going to be a very active year on the Hill, and hopefully we start seeing which way the wind is blowing in the new year.
Was it active enough to you to get a new apartment in DuPont Circle, or you're not going to spend that much time in DC?
I'm hoping not to. That's why we have Diana out there in DC. I just pop in here and there to talk.
Great. I used to live in DC. Lobbying the Hill can be both exciting if you do it once or twice a year. It becomes extremely draining if you do it all year round and make
All
it
year
sort of a
round.
core part of what you do.
I'm an operator, man. I'm not a lobbyist.
Got it. Mark, what say you?
I'll weigh in that that ties to a little bit about earlier this week in Cannabis Musings. I had a guest post from Rebecca Stamey White, who's a alcohol beverage and cannabis lawyer, and weighing in on sort of the alcohol regulatory perspective. So tying into the excellent BevNet conversation that you all had on high spirits, and that perspective can't be, if the hemp industry is going to succeed, it's got to solve for that, because the alcohol industry isn't going to walk away from the lobbying fight.
Right.
They're not going to, they're not going to just sort of say, all right, well, we won here, and oh, that happened. No, they're going to continue to pay attention. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear, and I'll just say it on every platform that I can, that this has been the most exciting beverage category that any of these operators have ever seen. So the retailers, the distributors, and these big brands that were kind of left out of the conversation have also now recognized it. And so it's a little bit of an attempt to reset the game board. The question is, how much does the collective hemp industry, cannabis industry, trip over itself as it tries to fight for what it wants versus what they want?
Yeah.
And that is the unforeseen outcome that we'll discover.
Yeah. And Jeremy, you and I had on Adam Terry from Cantrip earlier. Maybe I'll play a clip later in the show. But also you wrote for, I'm going to call it MSN, but I think it's called MS Now. Give us, well, because you're Canadian, give us the Coles notes of what you wrote in MS Now this week.
The publication formerly known as MSNBC. I did not know it was MS Now until I wrote for it and saw the byline. So I think they need a little bit more marketing help on that. The function of the column was basically to explain what happened with the hemp ban, what Rand Paul was trying to do, and why the average cannabis consumer should care, right? So sort of pulling back the layers, and I know we talk about this stuff every single day, so we're all very well aware of the nuances, but the average person is not. And so the thrust of the column was basically, let's use this particular hemp ban and how it's emblematic of the federal government's extremely haphazard policy making on the cannabis issue. And so, in the column, I showed basically they threw the baby out with the bathwater, was a line that I was proud the editor kept in there. Basically, Mitch McConnell thought that he was banning just gas station Delta 8, synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic THC, which we all know present, public health and consumer challenges. But at the same time, it effectively is a blunt instrument that shuts down or will shut down if the industry cannot advocate for itself successfully, will shut down a lot of viable businesses that are doing things responsibly. And I think it is emblematic of the fact that Congress seems to very much not know what it's doing when it comes to hemp and cannabis regulation. And unfortunately, that was true in 2018, and it's true in 2025 as well.
Well, and also you called them old last week, if I recall. Geriatric was your word.
I called them geriatric.
Yes.
Yes. And I think I still have a leg to stand on. I'm not, I'm still in my 30s, so maybe I'm still young. But look, I think, the cannabis issue is nuanced and complex, and things do get simplified as they work their way through the levers of, both parties negotiating and trying to make sure that they can sell, laws they pass to their constituents. At the same time, I would hope that the next batch of cannabis policymaking in Congress is a little bit more measured and negotiated.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, I will weigh in also. Just, I don't think that's, maybe it's not totally fair to Congress, because I would argue that a lot of the cannabis industry doesn't really fully understand the scientific difference between all these different products. So, and certainly the state regulators, have very sort of mixed experience with really understanding this stuff. So to expect Congress to understand it, it's
Yeah.
disappointing. Don't get me wrong.
It's also it also doesn't help that there's like willful misdirection by like lobbyists on the Hill, or these efforts to get people to sign letters. People are purposefully like, we're seeing this in a number of different instances, like whether it's repealing the state systems in Massachusetts. We're hearing about people going out and getting petitions signed through just pure misdirection. And I do believe that was happening in DC when it comes to the confusion around hemp cannabinoids.
Yeah, and I think just sort of one more point to both Mark and Ben. I mean, I think it when you think about Canada, my home country, where Jay is, this distinction doesn't really exist between hemp and cannabis in effect for the consumer. Not to say that Canada has everything right with how it regulates the industry. There's certainly many things, and we talk about it that it could do better. But it's not like a consumer in Toronto is going to the store and saying, "No, I want the beverage made from hemp." Right? They just want the THC. And I think it like, yes, these things are confusing, and we're talking about different isomers of THC, and it can get pretty esoteric. At the same time, it's not rocket science, right? It's sort of pretty elemental biology that most members of Congress, if they spent I think 25 minutes really trying to understand the issue, they could. And so I think part of what I was hoping to do with the little platform I got was to just encourage a little bit more scrutiny on the issue. And so hopefully someone read it. I don't know if they did, but
Well, I think too, what you're really highlighting is the importance of right message, right platform as well, and that is something that is important to be spreading outside of the cannabis media platforms and educating people that might be on different platforms, which is a cool segue. Anyway, Jay, you should set us up for this other platform that had some cannabis discussion, also around hemp this week.
Sure, and in fairness, Anna Ray, you and I are like stands for the Pivot podcast with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway, and they've been on tour, and I caught them. I think you caught them. Like they were on tour, like came to Toronto, but then this came up. Hold on, let me just play it. I gotta figure out how. Hold on. Here it is. Ready? Here we go.
Next question.
I'm Joyce, 25-year resident of San Francisco. Worked in music first, and then tech. Music got destroyed by streaming. Tech kind of has had its bubble too, and now I work in legal weed.
Oh, great.
Legal weed.
Hello.
Yes. Consumer here, yes.
Did you bring some for the dog?
I brought you.
Oh, God.
Had to shoot my shot, right? Yeah. It's called Sonoma Hills Farm. We're the first OCal certified organic cannabis farm in the state. Yep. Yesterday was a big day in Congress.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna.
Well,
you want to keep listening?
hemp was banned yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it was 76 to 24.
Yeah, that makes sense, right?
Right. Regulated parties are like, well, hemp just kind of has this loophole and we've spent all this money. But at the end of the day, it was like the biggest step towards backtracking prohibition that we've seen in a long time.
Agreed.
We have 24 legal states, 39 with, medical. Cannabis helps with reducing anxiety.
That was Mitch McConnell and the alcohol
socialize.
lobby that did that. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have these amazing off-brand pharmacies here where you can get generic drugs, and I got some generic erectile dysfunction drugs. The generic term is mycoxaflopin.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but I aspire to be either Scott Galloway or Kara Swisher, depending on the day, and I feel like I'm lucky if I can hit on or channel either one of them. So if people want more dick jokes in this environment, you let me know and I'll try to bring those to the table.
I love it.
Coxaflopin is going to be a tough one to beat.
I think he spends a lot of time thinking about those, or has a staff thinking about it a lot.
And for everyone to know, that was Joyce Sinali, one of the co-founders of the very excellent, high-quality Sonoma Hills Farms. Sonoma Hills Farm out of Petaluma, making pink cheeses, among others.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where Mark and I both live. So,
Yeah.
So Joyce stood up at in a live theater recording and platformed cannabis on a media platform that really never talks about cannabis,
Except Scott's usage, yes.
Scott likes to eat edibles and he talks about that. And I think that this is the big lesson here, guys. Like there's a lot of work to be done. For really the first time in the last decade, we have this like shot clock with hemp of looking at certain amount of days left to actually substantively change policy in one way or another. And Joyce used an opportunity to stand up and to ask a question specifically about that policy on a national platform. So I was really inspired. I hope everybody else is. I think that's the jam. Like keep standing up in rooms where people aren't talking about this and talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, I was impressed how quickly Kara responded with
She knew.
just a very poignant Mitch McConnell and the alcohol lobby. Like, there's some knowledge out there outside of our ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She follows Congress and lives in DC, I think most of the time, at least when she's not in San Francisco. It was great to hear. It was great to sort of see the conversation from the sort of cannabis community as well. Following that, and Anna Ray only knew about it because you posted it.
That's right.
Yeah. Those were not the questions they got when they were here. They got a lot of like Trump questions, trade questions, AI questions, all the rest. But I also learned that Scott has a plane in which he flies around the country in when he's on tour like this. It's a Canadian plane, Bombardier. So we learned a lot.
Wow.
I think it was a big moment. And just to give you numbers, like their show has more listeners and downloads than any of the late night shows. Like it's a big deal.
I didn't know podcasting can get you a Bombardier jet.
I don't think it does. I think he's exited many companies and been on
Okay. I was gonna say.
But he also does run. This is good news for all of us, I guess. He does run through the finances of their show quite a bit. When the late night shows get canceled, he sort of says, look, they have 150 people on their show. Their cost per show is X. Their revenue for each show is Y. And a podcast like his or New Heights, like they're making, I think they're making tens of millions. What's that?
Wow.
10 million a year, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And New Heights is way bigger.
Minimal staff.
Minimal staff. Like you
Yeah.
could, I mean, if they were adequate editors, they could do it themselves. Ben, you would take a lot longer and couldn't put it out the next day. I know you love the sound quality, but like they do, my guess is they turn it around very quickly because they do it twice a week. I don't know why we're talking about this, but it was a good platform to hear about it.
Really,
because
this
it's
is just a
Friday.
call out for someone that would like to commercialize all of us so that we can also make $10 million talking about cannabis.
We
Whenever
would split it all. We could we could divide it by 5. It'd be perfect.
Yes, and we would also, give charitable donations as well if someone.
I would take a 10 for that personally. So
All me.
That's all coming out of Anna Ray's.
She's Mark's surprised face.
There it is. Can we change for 1 second? And that is, there was news out of 2 big states that seemed to be constantly on the cusp of legalizing this week. One is Pennsylvania, which I think this is the second year, maybe third year, that the same stories have been written that it's not going to be this legislative session, third year, and it might be the next one. Like, I do like Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, but that legislature must be a real handful to deal with because they can't seem to get it over the finish line. I like calling it Florida, but Florida also seems to be going back to the ballot in 2026. They still need to collect, as some of our readers suggested and explained to us, they still need to collect, I think it's like 800,000 signatures, which I think they'll be able to do with enough money from TrueLeave to get it back on the ballot in 2026. It just seems like these 2 big states, it's like a big either legislative or voter sort of roadblock, and like they just can't seem to do it or do it quickly. Anybody have any insight into Pennsylvania or Florida other than the hellscape that is Florida?
My only question about Florida is that lawsuit with DeSantis still going on?
I think-
for
Right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of these states are like massive market opportunities, and they have pretty deeply embedded existing medical programs. And those operators are continuing to invest a lot in trying to transition. Like they all believe that the inevitable eventual transition to adult use would solidify their market position. I'd say that like what you should predict, or what I would predict with any type of adult use effort in these states, is that it would entrench medical operators as prioritized or first to market, or you will see language about how it will be safer and simpler to create a market based on the existing structure. This is not our opportunity for a bunch of small independent operators to go open up in Florida or Pennsylvania with adult use. This is going to be an opportunity for the existing medical companies to grow. That's my prediction.
Especially in Florida.
Yeah.
I'll just be interested to see how the strategy in Florida changes, because they have the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. I think Trulieve got attacked for really trying to be protectionist, but their defense was that, these were single issue ballot measures. And so are they going to run parallel ballot measures that give them a little bit more defense? Who knows? But yeah, that'll be the interesting thing. Did we learn from our mistakes?
Well, the other thing that was front and center,
$72 million.
The other thing that was front and center last time was that the hemp industry was fighting the initiative. So I think we talked about it last week. Like the hemp cannabis arguments in Florida are pretty contentious, and we'll see if that continues on into the next legislative session, where they'll be fighting. The hemp people will also be fighting their battles in DC. So. I presume. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, people are being cynical for their own self-interest, huh?
Shocking.
Yeah. I think in Florida in particular, it will be interesting because hemp is such a big player in Florida, especially with, DeSantis having, for some unknown reason, we could probably guess what it is, but is supporting hemp but not supporting adult use. Yes, exactly. And so does the fact that he is no longer going to be, he's a lame duck at this point, and if hemp is it will be interesting to see whether hemp is successful or not in getting a new law on the federal level, or because if hemp then goes away in Florida, does that create more popular support for adult use?
Right. We'll see. Well, we may see.
So which is kind of a weird sort of like, turnabout.
And the big difference between these two states is that Pennsylvania is pushing for a legalization effort through their legislative process,
right.
and Florida is going to the ballot. And in a lot of states, the legislative process has worked. In Pennsylvania, it's not working. But in Florida, they have to get 60% of the voters. So the last measure did have a majority of voters. I think it was about 56%. It's just really hard to reach that threshold of 60.
Right.
The other thing from a sort of just one, I would say, corporate perspective, and I don't know if they transitioned other stores, but the sort of prime location in Palm Beach or West Palm Beach of Curaleaf's dispensary there, they moved over from from a medical to like a hemp derived THC dispensary. It's like super fun. I went there like right on the main drag, and I don't know if they transitioned other stores to that model or other locations to that model, but it'll be interesting to see how they go back or what their sort of conversations like internally or what it means to their bottom line if they have. But
I think it was to me, it was probably one of the only states where they could get away with that because it's just the way the rules work, where one license lets you open an unlimited number of dispensaries. So the cost is probably fairly minimal to switch it back. Whereas in another state, if you had changed it, your license is gone.
Yeah.
And so you'd have to get a new license. And so, to me, it was a low stakes bet on legalization of hemp versus, what our friends at GTI/Rhythm, formerly known as Agrify, did. So
it's a long name for a company. GTI, formerly known as Agrify, Rhythm.
Well, no, GTI/Agrify, I should say. Because GTI effectively controls Agrify. So
Jared?
It's a non-subsidiary subsidiary.
The only I don't live in Florida. I don't have too much insight into the internal politics of the state. But the only thing I'll mention is that we're really talking about a margin of I think 3.5%. I have to fact check myself, but I think Amendment 3 last November hit 56 point something percent, and that was with a vociferous, well-funded, and possibly illegal campaign by the sitting governor to defeat the bill. And so it remains to be seen whether he fights it in the same way. I think that'll affect it. It remains to be seen, Jay, to your point, how hemp wants to fight it. But at the same time, like, it is a gubernatorial election year. There will be high turnout. People will be motivated on the issue. And so, look, like, if there is, sort of underlying politics that will let this hit 60%, it probably is now or never. That being said, this is my sort of looking down from New York and looking at the 30,000-foot view versus, internally in Florida. So I don't really know. And at the same time, look, like, if this hits the ballot measure, it's not quite there yet. It has to go through another step. If it hits 54, 55% and doesn't pass, it's going to look like a failure for the cannabis legalization movement. But, in reality, it's not, because you are getting the majority of people in what is now a red state voting for this. And so it'll be very interesting to watch.
The other consideration is that the president will also have to take he'll have to come out on this issue because he's a Florida voter is going to be asked about it. And so I don't know. The whole thing is
he'll give another sort of mealy mouth non-answer that everybody's going to pretend means what they want it to mean.
Yeah, everyone who voted for him will say he's going to say cannabis, and everyone who didn't will say, what does that mean?
You can extrapolate that from cannabis to anything, I guess, at this point.
Well, yes, that's exactly my point. But
as long as it distracts,
as long as rescheduling, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to happen soon," and everybody in the industry who read that as like, and all the stocks went up, and everybody forgot that he says 2 weeks about everything. And nothing, and 99% of the time it doesn't happen. So it's, it's like, it's rake, it's like stepping on rakes.
Well, in 2 weeks, his IRS audit will be done.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Epstein audit will be done too.
Meanwhile, my ability, this is a good transition. My ability to travel to the US in a couple weeks is now severely diminished for this. Now that I've said that, I'm sure they're watching at the White House. So if I'm not there, you'll know why. But these people will be there. December 3rd, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, which is 11:30 Eastern. We'll all be together for this morning in Cannabis live from Las Vegas. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other is today, our platform, Cultivated, came out with what we call 3030s, 30 trailblazers in their 30s shaping the future of cannabis. It is a really great group, sort of up and down the supply chain, geographically and otherwise, sort of interesting parts of the sector, from executives to folks who manage stores, doing things interestingly. Anna Ray, I want to thank you, and Jeremy, you, for taking a look and being part of our review committee as well, because I think we have an incredible group here. You can find a link certainly on our LinkedIn page, which is a weird thing to say, but also on cultivated.news. So that's shameless self-promotion of those 30 people and something that we came up with. But you'll be seeing these folks in and around our channels, but also maybe some with us in Las Vegas as well. Anybody else want to promote stuff coming up, since we're, one more note, sort of housekeeping. We will not be doing this. I'm making an executive decision next Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So is that okay? Is everybody okay if we don't come back? Okay. So the next time people will see us is December 3rd from Las Vegas. There we go. Now I'm done. Anybody else?
Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the High Spirits Morning Mixer that we're putting on Thursday morning in Vegas. If you go to highspiritspod.com, there is a link for the morning mixer. You can learn more and apply to join us. It will be great.
It will be great. And following up on the whole BevNet thing, BevNet Live is in Marina Del Rey in California the following week. And so if you're a hemp or cannabis beverage company, it's the place to be. We'll be there. We're doing a whole hemp section. It's on the main stage. It'll be all the talk.
So Ben, would you rather be in DC or Marina Del Rey? Give us your answer.
Marina Del Rey. Let's go.
Mark, what about you? What are you writing about this week? Do you know?
Well, yesterday or this morning came out about AFC Gamma, big cannabis lender, is converting to Business Development Corp, which is basically a public vehicle for private credit, in order to moving from what's called a mortgage REIT into a BDC, so that hinting at they're going to start lending more outside of cannabis, which Chicago Atlantic has already been doing. And to me, that's not a great sign for cannabis. So,
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. On that note,
and
So
I will
maybe
be in
not for
Vegas.
private credit either.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. Private credit.
Way to end on a high note, Mark.
yeah,
When do I ever have a high note?
fair enough. We'll start next time we
it's
ask.
all low notes for me.
We'll end with the high spirits morning mixer. All right, we will see everybody not next Friday, but December 3rd. We will all be together. I don't think I've met any of these people in real life except Jeremy. I don't think. Maybe we have. But we will all be together doing this, sitting on couches all together. So we look forward to that. See you on December 3rd. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Have a good Thanksgiving week and enjoy Thanksgiving. We'll see you all from Las Vegas.
Bye-bye.